Germany, long considered the economic engine of Europe, is now facing a convergence of crises that could dismantle its status as a global powerhouse. Behind the polished veneer of industrial strength and fiscal responsibility lies a fragile economic structure that is increasingly exposed to internal weaknesses and external pressures. A combination of outdated industry dependence, demographic challenges, political instability, geopolitical tensions, and societal unrest is creating a perfect storm that threatens to send Germany into economic decline. In this exploration, we will delve deeply into the multifaceted crises confronting Germany, analyzing the long-term risks that these problems present, and why the country's leadership seems either unwilling or unable to effectively address them. Germany's dependence on its traditional industries, especially the automotive and manufacturing sectors, has long been both a source of pride and vulnerability. For decades, the country's economy has been built around its reputation for precision engineering and high-quality manufacturing, with automotive giants like Volkswagen, BMW, and Mercedes-Benz forming the backbone of its industrial might. However, as the world shifts toward electric vehicles, sustainable energy, and technological disruption, Germany's over-reliance on these traditional industries has become its Achilles heel. The country was slow to embrace the shift to electric vehicles, allowing competitors in China and the United States to gain the upper hand. Tesla's rise and the aggressive push from Chinese EV manufacturers have exposed Germany's lack of innovation in this crucial sector. Meanwhile, stringent environmental regulations and consumer preferences for greener alternatives are accelerating the decline of the internal combustion engine, a key pillar of Germany's economy. Compounding this industrial vulnerability is Germany's flawed energy policy. The ambitious Energiewende, aimed at transitioning the country toward renewable energy, has been fraught with complications. Germany's decision to phase out nuclear energy in the aftermath of the Fukushima disaster, combined with its heavy reliance on Russian natural gas, left the country in a precarious energy position. The war in Ukraine and the resulting sanctions on Russian energy supplies have magnified these vulnerabilities. The energy crisis has led to soaring prices, further straining energy-intensive industries such as chemicals, steel, and manufacturing. With production costs rising and energy supplies becoming more unreliable, Germany's industrial sector is increasingly losing its competitive edge. Renewable energy sources, while growing, have not yet reached the capacity required to fully replace nuclear and gas. This energy uncertainty has had a profound impact on the broader economy, creating ripple effects that are being felt across all sectors, from manufacturing to services. Geopolitically, Germany's long-standing relationships with its major trading partners have come under strain, adding another layer of complexity to its economic woes. Germany's deep economic ties with China, its largest trading partner, are now a source of concern as tensions between the West and China escalate. The prospect of a decoupling from China is deeply unsettling for German manufacturers, who rely heavily on Chinese supply chains and markets. The global trend toward deglobalization and the rise of protectionism threaten Germany's export-driven model, which is dependent on open markets and free trade. Trade wars, geopolitical rivalries, and sanctions have disrupted global supply chains, forcing Germany to reconsider its economic strategies. The economic fallout from the COVID-19 pandemic also highlighted the risks of over-reliance on global supply chains, as critical industries were brought to a standstill due to shortages of key components like semiconductors. Germany's domestic challenges are no less daunting. The country faces a demographic time bomb that threatens to erode its long-term economic stability. Germany's population is aging rapidly, with a low birth rate and a shrinking workforce. By 2030, a significant portion of the country's workforce will be over the age of 65, while the number of young workers entering the labor market is in steep decline. This demographic shift has serious implications for productivity, economic growth, and social welfare systems. With fewer workers to support an aging population, the burden on social security and healthcare systems will grow exponentially. Moreover, the shrinking labor pool is already being felt in key industries where businesses are struggling to find skilled workers to fill critical roles. Despite this looming crisis, Germany's immigration policies remain relatively rigid, limiting the influx of foreign talent that could help alleviate the labor shortages. Without a significant overhaul of its immigration system, Germany will struggle to maintain its economic dynamism in the face of this demographic decline. The political landscape in Germany has also become increasingly fragmented, exacerbating the country's economic challenges. The rise of populism, particularly in the form of the far-right Alternative for Germany (AfD) party, has fractured the country's political consensus. The AfD's growing support, especially in the economically disadvantaged regions of former East Germany, reflects deep-seated dissatisfaction with the status quo. Economic inequality, cultural identity, and concerns over immigration have fueled the party's rise, undermining the traditional political order. The ruling coalition government, composed of multiple parties with competing interests, has struggled to implement coherent policies to address the country's pressing challenges. Political gridlock and indecision have delayed critical reforms in taxation, labor markets, and infrastructure investment. As a result, Germany is increasingly seen as a country in political stagnation, unable to make the tough decisions needed to secure its economic future. Economic inequality is another dark shadow looming over Germany's future. Despite its strong welfare state, the gap between rich and poor has widened significantly over the past 2 decades. Wealth inequality is stark, with the top 1% of Germans holding a disproportionate share of the country's wealth, while middle and lower-income households struggle with stagnating wages and rising living costs. Nowhere is this inequality more evident than in the housing market, where skyrocketing rents in cities like Berlin, Munich, and Hamburg have made it nearly impossible for average citizens to afford decent housing. The housing crisis is particularly acute for younger generations, who are increasingly priced out of homeownership and forced into precarious rental situations. This has created a growing sense of frustration and alienation, particularly among millennials and Gen Z, who feel that they are being shut out of the economic prosperity enjoyed by previous generations. The rise of automation and artificial intelligence presents yet another existential threat to Germany's economic model. As technological advancements accelerate, many of the country's traditional industries face the prospect of widespread job losses. Automation in manufacturing, logistics, and even professional services is expected to displace millions of jobs in the coming decades. While Germany has long invested in education and vocational training, there are concerns that the pace of technological change will outstrip the ability of workers to adapt. Entire sectors of the economy, from manufacturing to finance, could be rendered obsolete by automation, leading to mass unemployment and social unrest. The government's response to this looming crisis has been tepid at best, with few concrete policies in place to manage the transition to an increasingly automated economy. Germany's fiscal policies, once hailed as the model of responsibility, are now seen by many as an impediment to progress. The country's adherence to the Schwarze Null, Black Zero policy of maintaining balanced budgets has hamstrung its ability to invest in critical infrastructure, innovation, and social services. While this policy helped Germany weather the financial crisis of 2008, it has left the country with crumbling infrastructure and underfunded public services. Germany's roads, railways, and digital infrastructure are in desperate need of modernization, but the government's commitment to fiscal conservatism has limited its ability to make the necessary investments. As other countries ramp up spending on innovation and infrastructure to compete in the global economy, Germany risks being left behind. The reluctance to invest in future technologies, particularly in areas like artificial intelligence, renewable energy, and digitalization, threatens to erode Germany's competitiveness in the global market. Finally, the social fabric of Germany is being tested as never before. The combination of economic inequality, political fragmentation, and cultural tensions has created an undercurrent of discontent that threatens to boil over. The influx of refugees during the migrant crisis of 2015, combined with the ongoing debates over immigration, has polarized German society. The far-right AfD has capitalized on these divisions, using anti-immigrant rhetoric to galvanize support among disaffected voters. At the same time, the country's long-standing commitment to multiculturalism is being questioned, with growing calls for stricter immigration controls and a re-evaluation of Germany's role in the European Union. These cultural tensions are mirrored by economic disparities, with the wealthy western regions of Germany thriving while the eastern regions lag behind. This geographic divide, combined with the broader societal tensions, threatens to undermine the country's unity and stability. In conclusion, Germany is facing a perfect storm of challenges that threaten to derail its economy and unravel its social cohesion. From its over-reliance on traditional industries and flawed energy policies, to its demographic decline, political fragmentation, and growing inequality, Germany is confronting an array of crises that are converging into a potential catastrophe. Without bold leadership and a willingness to embrace radical reforms, Germany risks losing its position as Europe's economic leader, with far-reaching consequences for the continent and the world. The question is no longer whether Germany will face a crisis, but how severe that crisis will be, and whether the country can navigate its way through the storm.